Well, let's start over. Hi, welcome to Landscapes and Legacies.
Hi.
How may we help you? Just kidding. So we just got done with our quarterly planning today
Feeling
for
very aligned.
for quarter 4.
You're laughing. I'm not laughing. It was cool. I was talking about this briefly earlier with Jeremy, actually. We're looking backwards now, like kind of like a practice quarterly strategic meeting back in like March.
You talking about the one that I did?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which was cool. I really liked that and enjoyed that. It was a
Less
little bit.
people.
I was a little bit more intimate, so I felt like it was maybe. I feel like we were pretty productive today, but it was a lot more. It was less chaotic.
When there's less people,
Yeah.
yeah.
Naturally. It was just really cool, and I felt like I've had some meetings with Jeremy on Zoom, and I've spoken to him a number of times here, but
Jeremy or Sean?
Jeremy.
Okay.
I mean, both of them. Sean is awesome he's awesome. But Jeremy, he came over and was talking to me whenever we got down to setting our priorities. Sean had signed off on my priority. Jeremy came over and like he performed a little bit of surgery on it and then kind of like helped me get into it like a little bit deeper layer by layer. And I knew this already about him from one of my meetings with him previously, but he's full of knowledge in the project world. It was just really funny because he's like, hey, let me borrow your pad. And he started scratching down some numbers and he's like, I'm going to say something that you're going to immediately disagree with. And I was like, challenge accepted. So he wrote it down and he didn't just say the part that was controversial. He said the part that was controversial as fuck and then broke it out and wrote it out and continued it all the way and made his point full. And my response was, I don't disagree with you.
What was it?
A 3-man project team.
Okay.
So yes, that is controversial
Okay.
in our world and ways that we've been doing things, but other things that we are altering and tweaking. It's just another part of it that we can tweak. And again, I told him, I said, I don't disagree with you. I just need to. I think I said that the challenging part will probably be affecting the change in like the crew culture of like they think bigger projects they need a bigger crew.
It's kind of like the same thing you said a minute ago when it was more intimate. It felt more productive.
Yeah.
And when you add more people, it's more chaotic.
But that was just really eye opening. That bit of information happened in 6 minutes, and I was just like,
Yeah.
in the middle of it, he was talking to me, and Adam was sitting next to me, and I was like, dude, are you hearing this? Like, this guy is crazy. In a good way.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was cool. It helped to understand some more of like, I think everybody in the Align stuff with the daily huddles and the weekly huddles, has been seeing like that section for priorities and kind of wondering when that was going to drop and what we were going to be doing with that. And I thought it was really cool to finally get to unpack that and set our own. It was kind of funny because also I was working with another team member and kind of like looking at other people's priorities. This is going to sound lazy, but I was just like shooting myself in the foot because dang it, dude, like I set myself a hard, like legitimate hard priority and I'm looking at this guy's and I'm looking at this guy's and I'm like, this is bullshit.
Yeah. That's easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, and that's what's nice about setting expectations. And when you beat the expectation, it's a nice feeling. In the Brene Brown Dare to Lead book, one of the sections is paint done for me.
Done for me?
Done for me. What does done look like? If I give you a task, and I say, hey, Rob, in the book, it gives a really good example. I'm trying to think of one that would pertain to us in our world.
I got one.
Go for it.
A permit. Is that a bad example to use?
Yeah. Rob, I need you to close all of the irrigation permit.
Okay. You want me to paint what done looks like on that?
Well, you would ask me, okay, what does that mean? Do you? What does it mean?
So. Ensuring that all paperwork has been submitted to the city or entities that are required to be able to proceed with the work that you are applying to do. Once the work has been completed, ensuring all the closeout paperwork has been also entered and or uploaded into the same entities that you applied with. For example, backflow test reports are uploaded to the permits or the city portal, what have you. And then if required, scheduling the inspection. Some portals, automatically will schedule the inspection triggered by a document that you upload. Others, you have to manually schedule that inspection. Once that inspection passes, you are now at the closing process of the permit. And once that permit reads closed, you're complete. Yes. There should be nothing left to do with that permit for me.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know that because you've done the process a bazillion fucking times. But let's just say you're relatively new on it. And I'm like, hey, close out all those permits. If you didn't know that whole process and you were just following verbatim what I said, you would probably close some permits that or request for inspections to close it out without having the backflow paperwork, right?
Right.
No, you didn't follow the process because you didn't know the process. So it's really the right questions to make sure that you are getting the end result that I anticipated. Sometimes people give tasks or ideas or they want a spreadsheet. I need a spreadsheet that tells me the hourly wages for this person. I don't know. There's just so many different things. But so paint done for me means okay, what are you expecting what the end result looks like? So that I can figure out the best method possible to get you that information. Because how I get to that information might be different than how you do it. But really, at the end of the day, I guess as long as that information is what I needed, it really doesn't matter how you get it.
What you're saying is that the doer, so I assign you a task, you being the
Hmm.
doer needs to make sure that you ask the right questions in order to know how to fill in all the lines.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, that makes sense.
Because and like if I didn't give you all of those details and you just went and did it, I can't be mad at you because I was just very black and white. But really, I wanted to make sure that all permits that needed to be closed were closed.
Yeah,
Obviously, don't close permits ahead of time if we haven't actually done the work, because that's just going to make it more chaotic in the
right.
end.
Sometimes I can, and this is me personally. Well, I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit
Yep.
here as well. In using the exact same example and process and things like that, there was a little bit of like figure it out. And there was also a little bit of like, I may have been asking the right questions. Hey, we've never installed in this city before. What do we do? You say, I don't know. We've never installed in that city before. So then that sort of, without communicating it directly, okay, as the person responsible for this part, the person who would have been the person to know doesn't know. It is now on me to find out. There is a little bit of, I feel like a little bit of expectation of gumption
Sure.
to kind of see if you can find that information yourself. One person that I was sitting nearby in the meeting today when we were talking about goals, and one of them was to become more competent and fluid within the softwares used by the company. When we got to Aspire on that list, I told him that obviously the resources that you have are the people around you. Most of the people around you have been on it for 2 years.
Hmm.
So that's a great resource, obviously. I also showed him the knowledge base and he had never seen that before. I was like, dude, like I showed it to him and at first he was kind of like, yeah, yeah. He was like, wait, how did you get there? And I kind of showed it to him and I said, look, if you have any scheduling, there's a whole tab on scheduling. There's a whole tab on time entry. There's a whole tab on that. Dude, it's awesome.
Yeah,
And
it's endless information in
yeah,
there.
I told him, like, if you get to a point where you're doing something in a process on Aspire and you don't know how to do it, and you go into the knowledge base and you figure out the solution and then you do it, that's winning. Like, you're winning. And you are successfully using the software. That is building your own competency.
Hmm.
You didn't
Hmm.
even have to go and ask somebody
Right.
else.
It's not contingent on someone showing it to you because all the resources are there. You just got to know how to navigate it,
I think that
right?
obviously it is helpful, and nobody's going to be like, well, did you check knowledge base for this? You know?
Yeah.
I think that definitely like you can give somebody like some serious head starts and jump starts on some things. I just think that some of the more intricate things can be really helpful to kind of deep dive into that knowledge.
Mm.
When I'm talking about the permitting, it's even if I generally know, it's sometimes good for me to go back to City of Georgetown and just see if there's been any updates to the permitting
Mhm.
process or anything
Mhm.
new that has changed. Things do change.
Yeah. Things do change. But it's knowing to know what questions to ask
Right.
to get your answers. Yeah, because how do I pull a permit? Well, where are we pulling a permit?
Mm. Most important question.
Yeah. Where's your water come from? Oh, I have a well. Don't need a permit. But we are going to have to change the way we do your system. Or we pull from the lake, which is, people do it. Yeah. How do you think the rest of your colleagues took the planing?
I think the second time that as a whole, we were all involved and directly interacting with Growth Bridge. So I think that that alone, just the act of that, of being included and a part of it, is super positive impact. Okay, like we're not just in the dark and like these things are kind of slowly rolling out in the background or behind the curtain. There was some face to face, which I think is always helpful. And those are like nonverbal, like uninformative positives.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just the fact that we all went out and did this offsite, we dedicated the time to it.
Mhm.
We understand there's stuff going on like usual, but this is also extremely important and we need to prioritize it as well.
Yeah.
I think that overall had like a positive impact of just being there. I know that there was like some stress in the morning throughout the team a little bit, especially the guys that are more field dedicated, of being like, "What the heck? Like, what are we gonna do? Why are we doing this?" But I kind of saw their interactions and their reactions and how they were uh, going through today, and I felt like it was like I was like, yeah,
Yeah, they saw it, they understood it.
singing a different tune this afternoon.
Yeah, had a little bit of a aha moment,
Yeah, yeah, and
an
kind of like
epiphany.
yeah, maybe even some energy about it.
Mhm,
I think that that's good. I think that, I'll say this, that I feel like there's been a little bit of a dip in morale over
mhm.
recent months, understandably based on some of the things that have changed and gone on, personnel, things like this. It was nice to see some smiles and some energy.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. When you look at the numbers the last 2 months and you see that it's positive compared to the previous 6 months, it's positive numbers, which is great. Sometimes I think when you see those numbers, do you find yourself being, "Okay, well, what did we do differently?"
Mm,
Because I can tell you right now, there's a lot of things that we did differently.
I kind of revert back to even like when we started looking at things more in depth in like mid 2024, and it was kind of just the act of paying attention or paying more closely attention affected some change, obviously not enough, but I think that that was, it aligns with us starting to make these big moves through Growth Bridge and their sort of advisements. I think that it's difficult to not connect those two things.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that we decided that we're gonna, utilize this company to kind of coach us and guide us through the storm that we're in right now. And this is where we've been, this is how it's been looking. Okay, now we've made the change and we're starting to implement slowly but surely. We're
Mhm.
implementing, and the implementations get a little bit bigger, a little bit more aggressive. But we did it over those kind of that period of time, and then all of a sudden, boom, we have 2 positive months
Yep.
back to back.
Mhm.
If we can keep up the momentum, then it's, like, hard not to argue that the trend started once we started making these
Once
changes,
you actually
right?
follow the
And
process,
so
yeah.
if you're clinging to the old way, and those are the numbers that are associated with the old way, and this is the new way, and these are the new numbers that are associated with the new way,
Yeah,
those are that's the loser way,
it solidifies
you
that
know?
what you're the changes that we're making today are actually moving the needle.
Right. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
as much as we all want to be here, including myself, to have a good time and all this other stuff, enjoy my work environment, enjoy my colleagues, all
Mhm,
that
mhm.
other stuff, and get some fulfillment out of this. I mean, we're here to do business. So what does successfully doing business look like? I mean,
If you're losing
putting some
money.
positive numbers on the bottom line.
Yeah, right?
You know.
Yeah. I think a lot of people too, like when you hear their profit numbers or whatever, especially I mean, I'm not a business owner, I'm damn near it, right? But I think a lot of times people have that misconception of, oh, the company was profitable and it's a $15 million company. I think that right, without people having, general knowledge, they think that, oh, that person must be filthy rich. But really and truly, the majority of the time people put their all of the not all, but the profits right back into the company and
Right.
don't even see
No.
that
And
profit.
to quote, I think it's Notorious B.I.G.
Mm.
"Mo money, mo problems."
Oh, yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
know, and
Mhm.
and I mean, like, also too, sometimes it's hard for me to not like relate that to even just a smaller example of like, if you give somebody $5,000 a month, it's a livable wage. Like,
60 a year?
yeah, something
Okay.
like that. Okay, like a single person by themselves,
Yeah.
whatever. If they're not able to make that money work for them, when I say work for them, I mean like if they're not able to
Live within their means.
live within their means or live comfortably, whatever that looks like, um, then if you give them $8,000, chances are they're probably going to be in the same spot.
Yeah.
If you give them $12,000 a month, the chances are they're going to figure out a way to spend all 12,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
so on and so forth, up to 15 million. I mean, you see rich people go bankrupt all the time.
Mhm.
And so I think that, as we learn a new way to manage the money and manage the things that are making our money, the money, that's it, you know?
Yeah.
We're kind of we're resetting and getting ourselves back on the right track.
Mhm.
That's all. I wanted to go back before I forgot about this, but I was talking about myself being included in this kind of group of people that wants to come here and have a good time and all this other stuff. But going back to like our first ever meeting with Growth Bridge, we were talking about culture. I want to say it was our first. our first meeting with them. That was a little bit
The whole
smaller group.
team?
I can't remember which one of
Uh,
them, but the topic of culture came up. It was a trick question put on by Sean. It was kind of funny, but it, like I've thought about it ever since he brought that up. That the good culture, the feel good, that all that good stuff that you talk about, that superficially when you talk
mhm.
about it, what does that look like, and how do you get that, and all this
Yeah.
other stuff. He really associated that sort of good feel of coming to work, of being at work, and all that other stuff with winning.
Yeah.
And so if the company's doing good, then we all get that feeling.
What does winning look like?
Wait, I'm not done. Oh, that's funny.
You see what
I was done, but I'm thinking of more shit to say so that I don't have to answer that right now. But he was right. And like right now we're in this period of time where we're trying to get back on to the track of winning.
Mhm.
And right now it's hard. Right now it's painful. Right
Mhm.
now it's uncomfortable and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
But a year from now, 2 years from now, God willing, we'll be here and we will be winning, and we'll be looking forward to our next cookout, and we'll
Mhm.
be handing out bonuses to our best crew leaders, and the
Yeah.
fun stuff will be
Yeah.
happening. The feel good stuff will be happening, but it can't happen until we're winning.
Yeah.
And if we're not winning, then there's no point in being here
Yeah.
for any of us.
Right. Right. We can go to McDonald's and get the same effect.
What does winning look like?
Yeah, what does winning look like? Is it subjective or objective?
I think I could make points to both, but I'm going to say objective.
Okay.
Objectively, on the P&L sheet, we're putting down some positive numbers at the bottom. The next step of that is that once we have paid all the bills from that net profit, that what is left over is still worth being in business for, as for the company. If we're doing all that, putting positive number, and then all that positive number goes out the door to bills, and nothing, then fuck,
Yeah.
we're just keeping the lights on.
Yes.
And
Pretty much.
and that's not why anybody does anything work related, whether you're starting a business or you're working for the
Yeah.
business.
Yep. Yeah. So,
So that's what winning looks like to me. What does winning look like to you?
haha. I mean, that was winning for the business.
All right.
But honestly, for me, though, to answer your question, because it's only fair, right now, to winning to me is seeing the light bulb go off for everybody
Mm.
in the team and realize that me being the chief repeating officer and being annoying with these huddles and these meetings and these processes and stuff, they're the closing the loop, closing the gap, and understanding why I'm doing the things that I'm doing for the bigger picture of it. That's winning for me.
Yeah, that's subjective winning.
Yeah,
That would be what winning
that's
looks
my
like to you
subjective winning. Correct.
subjectively.
Hmm.
I know, I like that. I gave the objective answer, so that was fair.
I texted Sean about our, just not having a grip on things. We've kind of put ourselves into this hole and we're trying to get out of the hole, and it's going to take some time. Even if we were just to win the lottery today and paid off all our bills, it's not going to fix the problem. That's a temporary band-aid. And you still got to do everything else. We do have to have a lot of tough conversations with subcontractors and vendors, people that we owe to, as we try to get out of this hole. And it does require, thankfully, the coaching company has been handling majority of these conversations with people. But then obviously once they hit the people we owe to are hitting a wall so many times, they start reaching out to everybody else. And it's frustrating and it's not fun conversations, but like we can only pay out so much as we get in. We have our cost of business too, sales tax, insurance money, things that we have to pay in payroll, obviously. So he responded and said, let's discuss it tomorrow. But, and that doesn't happen overnight. And so I feel like we've done pretty good over the last few months.
Yeah, I would say so.
Mm.
I remember saying this one thing to you. It was on the way back from Ignite Vegas. But I said that irrigation was 3% of our revenue stream, so it only gets 3% of our attention.
Sure.
If we want to grow it, we have to give it more.
Hmm.
I just remember thinking that. Today it was up at 4%.
And
I was like, all right.
All right. Yeah.
What does that look like if it was 10%?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
70% margin.
Yeah. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, we could spitball all day. Finding a qualified irrigation technician is very difficult.
And it's not just a technician, it's another
Yeah.
van, it's another
Yeah.
van full of parts. It's
Mhm.
it's all that stuff.
Getting customers that actually will pay to keep up with their system. right? Then that goes back to sales, you
Yeah.
know?
I'm going back to the meeting that we had today and they were talking about winning sales, like,
Mhm.
if you adjust your margin so low
Mhm.
or so far below a certain number, was that a win? No. Yeah, you might have gotten the sale, but now you've put a strain on not only that division, but the others to make it up as well.
Mhm. Which is I could understand as a salesperson, that's really hard,
It is hard.
especially when you're in a season of not winning. You're pumping out all these estimates and you're not getting feedback as to even just where you're at, but
Yeah.
it's also part of the territory. Like, if we could get bid tabulations all the time, I don't know if we would be sitting here talking about it. Lord almighty, I'm just glad I'm not in sales because it is, kinda hard to get that momentum. This is the thing that he used.
Okay.
And what's that saying? You have a champagne taste, but a beer budget.
Something like that.
It's a God, really? You don't know what the saying
I
is?
No, but I absolutely
You
understand
know what
what
I'm
you're saying.
saying?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it's hard to ask someone the budget, but there's other ways to ask people what their budget is without just verbatim being like, "What's your budget?"
I understand completely what you're saying. It is a little bit uncomfortable. You don't want them to think that what you're trying to do is just max out their budget. I've heard it before. The topic of the sale and trying to kind of win the sale, and oh, if your numbers are coming up too high, what do you do against somebody else? And a solution internally that I've heard before that was not mentioned today in that situation, an example was reduce services. Okay. Is there services that we can do without, that we can lower the price without
Mhm.
lowering
Without
our
cutting
mark?
profit.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Now, instead of saying, oh, okay, originally in my original estimate, and then this monster system I gave the technician 6 hours to audit it, I'm going to give them three because I need to cut the
Mm.
budget. Okay,
Mhm.
what about, okay, well, your irrigation system looks like it hasn't seen love in years. Are you really interested in kind of maintaining this?
Do
Something
we
that you want,
really need to do 12, or
would you
are
rather
you
do
fine
that
with
as request?
quarterly?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And then bring that monthly number down that they'll be spending lower to where it is somewhere
Mhm.
more competitive with whatever else they're receiving, but we're not putting ourselves into a position to lose.
Yeah. We're still performing it, but at a higher margin, but maybe less frequency.
In the project world, I think that it's a little different, but really like getting intimate with the contract, I think is a lesson that we've learned kind of the hard way
Yeah.
more times than I would like to say. And I'll bring up the redheaded stepchild of them is like the removal of silt fence
Yeah.
seems to be something that we kind of have overlooked in the past.
Mhm.
And it takes time, takes manpower, and it's something that we don't account for in the budgeted hours of the project,
Right.
across any part of the
Yep.
project. And
Mhm.
then we end up just burning time and
Mhm.
money on something that we either should have excluded to be able to
Mhm.
then later on charge for,
Mm.
or just said, hey, we need to include this part into the estimate as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, and again, on that note with project, sometimes we'll get copies of the competitors' bids. And so we'll sit down and we'll compare it to our bid. The first thing we always look at is the quantities. So are the plant quantities the same? Yes. Okay. This one has 10 trees. This one had 10 trees. Okay. What are the size of these trees? Oh, we're doing buckets of trees and gallon containers. This person's doing B&B, same labor hours and everything. It's like, well, but we know that a B&B takes longer to do because you have to be more careful with the root ball. Or another thing too is what kind of soil was it? Are we using sandy loam, chocolate loam, or are we using a 70-30 blend? That has to be tested every 6 months, and you have to show a delivery of the receipt. We see that pretty often. We were looking at, a competitor's one, and it was in the city of Austin. We know damn well, and it says it in the notes, that city of Austin requires the 70-30 blend, but this competitor bid chocolate loam, but then in the bottom gave like a VE option in lieu of sandy loam 70-30 blend, add this much more. And so as an person receiving the estimate, I'm going to look at the total number and I'm going to see, hey, this person is $25,000 cheaper than this other vendor. And it looks the same without really diving into the details. So I'm going to go with the cheaper vendor. Right? And then it's going to come up for submittals and getting the work done. They'll be like, oh, change order. Actually, you need to get this done because you need the delivery seat to pass this inspection for your dirt. Okay, so and you can see here in my bid, it was chocolate loam, but it needs to be 70-30, so it's going to be an additional blah, blah, blah. And
Right.
then they just got it. I'm like, God damn it. And that's just the strategy. Now, to me, that feels, I'm going to say this word again. I've used it a few times today. Facetious.
Facetious.
Say it.
Facetious.
Fa-
Facetious.
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 Faci- fac- fac-
No way.
I can't do it. Facetious.
That was it right there. Let's go with
It
that.
sounded stupid
Let's
though.
go. Let's go.
But you know what I mean? It feels sneaky.
No, it definitely does.
But it is what it is. Not every estimator,
No.
not every GC is going to accept that. They're going to be like, no, you did the wrong one. But it happens all the time. Everyone knows that you try to make up your margins and change orders until you read the fine print, and then you read that you can only mark it up 10%.
I always think too, like in those situations and stuff, I just feel like sometimes in the landscaping sort of service, I feel like we get mistreated.
For sure.
You know?
For sure.
Let's just say like we're trenching through.
You know why, right? There's a lot of reasons why.
Is there a why?
Well, yeah, because there's no requirement to get into this world. You don't have to have a landscaper's license. If you want to do irrigation, yeah, you got to be a licensed irrigator, but I can still do irrigation work without being licensed. The entry into the landscaping world is it's free.
It's free.
But if you want to go work in the AC world or the plumbing world or whatever, like
schooling,
licensing,
training,
all types of shit, you know?
Yeah. No, I see where you're coming from on that. I don't know. It's my example that I was going to use was like another vendor. Let's just say we're trenching. We're running a main line and we're running the mini X and boom, we bust up some electrical conduit. This is my example.
Real life example, but
I mean, it could be. It could not be. I could just be making this up. But they turn around, they go and they make the repair and they send the bill and we're stuck with the bill, right? Okay, in my mind, that sort of transfer of responsibility financially and everything like that makes sense. They need to come in and do the work. They say how much it's going to cost. We have to pay the bill, how much it sucks.
The cost, keyword.
How much it's going to cost us.
Yeah. That's never their true cost.
No. Okay, so flip the coin. Somebody comes through. We have just freshly landscaped, irrigated an area. Somebody comes through because they forgot something. Something is wrong. They got to rerun some sewer line, something. And they come through and they destroy irrigation wiring, irrigation pipes, not to mention the landscape. We come back and we hit them with an estimate for the repair, which in my mind is the exact same thing that just happened with the other example. They produced the bill. We had to pay the bill. We produced this bill. I feel like I run into a lot of, whoa, that's too high. And I'm like, okay, well, they shouldn't have broke it. They shouldn't have messed it up. That was what they told me when we accidentally broke their stuff. And it wasn't like, whoa, that's too high. I just always wonder in that example, is the electrician, are they getting flack from the GC saying, hey, this is a little bit too high. This is not going to work out. And they have to lower that cost before we actually see that bill? Because I feel like we have to do that a ton. I feel like a lot of times they don't because it probably somewhat trickles back to his fault.
And I think that's kind of where you were saying we as landscapers get the short end of the stick there because, yeah, I think we've ran into that a lot of the times.
I run into it a ton in the builder world.
Yeah,
a ton in the builder
which
world.
is just so.
I feel like the builders protect their other trades so fiercely, and they kind of treat us like an afterthought.
I would be curious to maybe we can bring a builder into here and ask them like questions.
I feel like I have a good enough relationship with quite a few of them. And I've had that kind of conversation with them where these guys came through and they busted this up. Okay, here's your quote. Man, that seems a little high. And I tell them kind of straight more. Those guys that I'm a little bit more casual with, what does it matter to you?
Yeah.
I'm forwarding this bill to that guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I've done much less and been charged much more.
Right.
You didn't bat an eye.
Yeah.
So,
that's very true. It's like, I also know, but going back to the builders, when there's damages, they're told find someone to back charge because we're not eating this. All of your trades are now just pointing the finger. How is that? How are we supposed to be a partner with you and your other trades building this property, multiple of them? How am I supposed to work well with this other trade if you're pinning us against each other
Constantly.
all the time? And there's that one freaking house where we just, because some butthead forgot to cover his valve or whatever, caused the leak, and we turned on the water because we need water to water our landscaping. Um, well, sure, like I'll pay for some of my damages, but man,
That one's it's still a tough one for me to think about, and it's a tough one for me to even take responsibility in a way other than I feel bad because it was a result of us doing our job,
yeah,
but it's hard for me to not blame the assigned responsible field manager of that project.
yeah,
It's hard for me to not it's not the guy who left the valve open,
yeah,
you know? It's honestly just think that a lot of these situations are from careless is not might be the right word, but they just seem like they just don't take it seriously.
yeah,
They just don't take it seriously. Been in a relationship with quite a few of them,
yeah,
and I've had that kind of conversation with them where these guys came through and they busted this up. Okay, here's your quote. Man, that seems a little high. And I tell them kind of straight, more those guys that I'm a little bit more casual and cool with. I tell them like, what does it matter to you? We're
yeah,
forwarding this bill to that guy.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I've done much less and been charged much more.
Right.
And you didn't.
But going back to the builders, when there's damages, like they're told, find someone to back charge because we're not eating this. Then it just turns it, and then you just, all of your trades are now just pointing the finger. Like, how is that? How are we supposed to be a partner with you and your other trades building this property, multiple of them? How am I supposed to work well with this other trade if you're pinning us against each other
Constantly.
all the time? You know, and there's that one freaking house where we just, because some butthead forgot to cover his valve or whatever, caused the leak, and we turned on the water because we need water to water our landscaping. Um, well, I sure, like I'll pay for some of my damages, but man, they started nickel and diming.
I honestly think that I discussed that with like a few other people that got involved in that situation, and it's still difficult. It's still a tough one for me to think about, and it's a tough one for me to even like take responsibility in a way other than I feel bad because it was a result of us doing our job,
Yeah,
but it's hard for me to not blame the assigned responsible field manager of that project.
yeah,
It's hard for me to not it's not the guy who left the valve open.
yeah.
You know, it's I honestly just think that a lot of these situations are from I don't know, careless is not might be the right word, but just, they just don't
Hmm.
I don't know, they just seem like they just don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
They just don't take it seriously.
It's eye of the beholder, right? So again, it kind of goes in line with feeling like the landscapers get the shit end of the stick, and we have to eat a lot of issues due to something or someone else. So tricky. But anywho, this whole session was about quarterly planning, and I'm glad that it went
We did
really
some
well.
our freestyles are dangerous.
Yeah, they are. I know, I told you.
Are we still doing one on Friday?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm excited. We're back.
Yeah. 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 All right. Till next time.
Till next time.
Peace.